So my dad goes to the store and he's like, "I got you guys a game," and we're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I got, I got it at the Bible store," and I was like, "Oh no!"
Hey everybody. This is our first episode of our podcast. This is the Die or Pass Level podcast. Brandon, you wanna cue them in on why we're called Die or Pass Level?
Yeah, it was actually a phrase that my brother and I would use to dictate who got turns playing the video game, right? Because we were always having to share, we played a lot of one-player games. And so the rule was if you died, you had the control over, or if you passed a level, you had the control over. So it was a big thing that we had to remind each other, right? We'd be like, die or pass level, die or pass level. It was a thing that we chat at each other a lot to remind the person that your turn was up if you died or passed a level.
Definitely something I grew up doing myself, and it's probably something I imagine a lot of gamers out there throughout their childhood experience too. So that kind of brings us to what this podcast is all about. It's kind of about those experiences growing up as a gamer with siblings, with friends, playing video games throughout your adolescence, what those video games meant to you and how they impacted your life. Of course, we're talking about games themselves and how awesome they are, but more than that, we're kind of going over the memories and the nostalgia about experiencing those games for the first time or with friends. So that's Die or Pass Level. And welcome. Listeners don't know us yet. Why don't we introduce ourselves, Brand?
I'm Brandon Huang. I am a writer. I write for children's animated series, but I also am an author as well. Also writing in the kid space. I used to be an executive, overseeing some of your favorite children's animated series. I worked for Nickelodeon. I worked for Netflix before taking the jump to writing.
Brand gave me my big break when he was in his big executive chair, signed off on a television show that I ended up scoring music for.
Nepotism, baby.
Yeah, baby. Thank him and curse him every day for putting me in this world. I'm Ray, grew up gaming, worked on music in bands, touring, started making music for television because of Brandon, and also just doing TV placements for television commercials. The industry is a little slow nowadays. So I started teaching music at a couple of schools while pursuing scoring for television and animation at the same time. All that free time has lent itself to this idea to start a podcast about gaming.
Oh, wait. Did I ever? I don't even know this. Did you know that I used to contribute to Dorkly? Remember that?
Dorkly is a gaming website.
Yeah, it was like an offshoot of like a College Humor. So I used to, when I was very, very early starting off, and I was still an executive, I had a couple Dorkly articles. I think that site's gone now. I think all that stuff's gone. So you can't even find those articles anymore. And they're probably way out of date. But yeah, I used to write articles for Dorkly. So there's some video game street cred in there for you.
That's really weird that I didn't know that about you. But yeah. The more you know. Dorkly, RIP, we'll miss you. The torch has been passed. Me and Brand met not maybe, 8 years ago because our partners had kids and had a mommy and me group that they were in. It was bring your partner to the function day. And I showed up, saw Brand, saw all the dads, kind of scouted. Let me see which of these dads I can befriend or is chill. I immediately saw Brandon and knew I could kick his ass at Smash Brothers.
I never once ever claimed to ever be good at Smash. I mean, I'm decent. I think I'm decent.
What I'm saying is I could tell you were a gamer. I was like, man, I can't wait to beat that guy at Smash Bros.
I had the opposite effect of you. I was like, this guy's too cool to play games. You don't dress. You dress like a cool guy, man. You had your black. You're wearing your leather jacket. I think what solidified it was the birthday party you invited us to. When you brought over, I think we brought our Switch or something like that. Like something weird. I was like, should I bring my Switch? Maybe I was playing something. I think I had it. You came over and like, what are you playing? And then I was like, oh man, okay, this cool guy, this cool dad likes to get down some games.
So after that mommy and me thing, I remember coming home and being like, what was that? What was Trixie's dad's name? And then they were like, oh yeah, it's Brandon. And I was like, I have a feeling this guy plays video games. I actually don't freak out. I searched your name up and you came up and you worked at Nickelodeon. And I was just like, there it is. I knew this dude was into cartoons, video games, etc., etc. So I knew when the time was right, I would crack that door open and see what it was all about. So at my daughter's first birthday party, we were there and Brandon brought a Switch and that was my opening. I was just like, hey, so what are you playing on that thing?
I wish I remembered what game that was that I was playing at the time. Well, that I had to bring it to a kid's birthday party.
So it was August. The Switch came out in March. if you had a Switch within like the first 6 months of it being released, you were playing Breath of the Wild, right?
I mean, my wife and I put a lot of hours in Breath of the Wild, so I would not be shocked about that if that was the game that we were playing at the time. I don't know if you can throw stuff up on the podcast, but we have that picture of us in the parking lot of Baskin Robbins.
Oh, dude, yes. Yeah. Don't worry.
Okay, that's for later. Okay, got it.
And if you look now, you'll see a picture of me and Brandon playing Switch at Baskin Robbins with our kids. Beautiful times, creating memories, gaming memories for them for when they podcast 30 years from now. I remember some of the earliest conversations I had with you were about just, you playing Breath of the Wild and like the Lionels and the things you've uncovered. I think I hit Sora first. Did you hit Sora first? Sora Domain?
I think I did too.
A lot of people, that was their first stop. Maybe the game kind of gently tugs you in that direction, even though it's supposed to be free.
Everyone loves that prince.
I love it. Love us some Zelda. Let's kind of move on to our first subject of the podcast. We're talking about our very first gaming experience. My first video game I played didn't really stick, so I'll tell you what my first game was, but it didn't move any mountains. I think the first game that really did that is another game, and I'll talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
The first game I ever played ends up, 30 years from now, it's my favorite series of all time. But when I first played Super Mario Brothers on NES, it didn't do a whole lot for me. I played it. I liked it. I remember liking it. And I remember my family could only play video games on the weekends. Is that something you did in your family?
Oh, you are not allowed to play video games after school. You were not allowed to play it after dinner. That was reserved for homework. And yeah, it was weekends only for sure.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that was a nighttime activity.
3-day rentals.
Even summer times. I'm sure we'll get into this at some point. Summer times were a little different.
Oh yeah, summertime, dude. All hell broke loose. We played way too much video games.
It was weird. I wasn't allowed to. My parents were divorced. I wasn't allowed to play console. But for some reason, I got away with playing on my PC. So I did a lot of PC gaming.
For me, the weekday excuse was the Tiger handhelds. Do you remember the Tiger handhelds?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember some of the Tiger games.
These weird little digitized characters that can only move in 3 different positions. Those weird ones. Those Final Fight.
I feel like the Little Mermaid one was dope.
There were some good ones, and I think Little Mermaid was dope. I think Ariel goes do do do, and she can throw stuff at things, dude.
I think print stuff in a bag maybe too. I can't remember, but I could be making this up. That could not be the game, but I want to remember. I'm having some little flashes here of memory of the Little Mermaid game being good.
Dude, you've unlocked the whole box of games. I think the Terminator one was lit.
We're unlocking memories.
Yeah, the Terminator one was really good. I don't even remember exactly, but I remember a lot of early ones at maybe 3 spots you can be on. But I remember the Terminator one. You can move them left, middle, right, up, down. He had all 360-degree range of motion. It was maybe towards the end of the Tiger electronic lifespan. At the peak of its technology.
Yeah. I don't think I ever owned one of those, but I think I got my hands on them through going to friends' houses and stuff.
Oh yeah, no. For whatever reason, we had a handful. Maybe just because we couldn't play video games on weekdays and we needed to scratch the itch. I needed something resembling a D-pad on my thumb. Anyways, yeah, I had the Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt cartridge. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. I hated Duck Hunt. I just felt it wasn't there yet. The idea was cool, but I felt how many times were you going up to your screen,
dude,
next to the screen, click, and it just wouldn't work. It was it's terrible. I did not play Duck Hunt very long. It was this is bunk, dude.
Duck Hunt was actually just putting your little blaster to the screen and hitting the plates or the duck.
You get so mad at the dog mocking you.
F that dog.
Yeah, man. Does the dog have an official name? I know that it was a character on Smash, but was there an official name?
Nah, his name's Duck Hunt in Smash Brothers, so must not be. But I took lots of joy in beating that dog up in Smash Brothers for sure.
Try to talk about my first game?
Yeah, man. Let's hit it.
Yeah, mine was PC first. So my dad was coming home and bringing. I remember there was a lot of early. It's called the Learning Company. They were doing a lot of educational games. So there was a game called Reader Rabbit that my cousin had. It was a little almost like a Roger Rabbit type icon character, and then you'd leap on platforms that help you spell words and things like that. Did a lot of Jumpman, right? There was a platformer, you jumped over stuff, and that was, I don't know.
So it was a platformer on PC.
Platformer on PC.
Okay.
Really crude. I mean, obviously very, very crude graphics, really blocky graphics.
Yeah.
Did a lot of Scorched Earth. Did you ever play Scorched Earth?
Oh.
It was you were tanks that were dropped down on and you had to basically like do like projection like
Oh,
cannon to like to destroy your and it would take turns. So I did a lot of that. Played a lot
I've
of that.
played games like that, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
called Scorched Earth.
But I think the biggest one that had the biggest impact on me was a game called Super Solvers. It was like again a learning company. They came out with these like, educational type games, and it was like you were a kid with a baseball cap and a cool bomber jacket and a flashlight, and you were solving a mystery out of school. There was like this mad scientist that built these robots, and he was hidden inside of one of the robots, and you had to go through the classrooms like the music room or the cafeteria, and you had to read these clues and deduce based on what you read. You had to have like context to figure out and deduce which robot this guy was in. But it was like they used like classical music, and it was a kind of a scary game because you're at school after hours and you're trying to solve this mystery, and like the robots would come and you have to flash your flashlight quickly. It was like awesome. I remember that was like that's probably like the number one first game that I was like completely had gripped me, and I thought I played a ton of hours of that. But Super Mario Brothers 2 was a big like first time for me, but my big first games were on PC. A lot of point and click adventure games was what I was playing.
I never did the point and click stuff. I had a cousin who had a PC, and I'd go over his house and like throw on that yellow floppy disk or to play like some random game. But I always, at that point, I was already playing NES games, and I was already like had an idea of what kind of games I liked or what I thought a video game was supposed to be. So I was like, why do I got to read?
Oh man, I saw it to this day. I was like, oh man, I wish like if there's a good like point and click adventure game, get me back in it. I'm back in. I love that stuff.
I never got into those though. I hear like there are games out there that might change my mind. I never played Myst, but people swear by Myst.
I didn't play Myst either.
It's one of those like puzzly dialogue
puzzle
based.
I mean, I played a lot of Sierra games, so Sierra Online. So I was doing a lot of King's Quest, Space Quest.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Leisure Suit Larry. I was playing Leisure Suit Larry way too young. I definitely should have played those, all those jokes. I just didn't went over my head, but I just love the walking around and talking with people and reading dialogue and things like that.
So Leisure Suit Larry, never played it. It's a game about a dude that's trying to hook up.
It's the game. Yeah, it's like a very like pervy
dating
game.
sim.
Yeah, almost worse. Yeah, it's like a dating sim. Yeah, oh my god, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, it's like a dating sim. You're this guy, he's wearing like outdated clothes, right? He's wearing a leisure suit and like kind of like a nerd, and your whole point is you're going to try to get laid, and that's like the whole point of the game. There's like 8 of these games that are out there.
6-year-old kid just playing Leisure Suit Larry.
No idea. All the jokes are going over my head. I have no idea. I played like The Secret of Monkey Island. Love that game too, dude. Okay, here's another. Okay, you weren't a PC player, but this is another deep cut PC game. There was a game on PC called The Adventures of Willie Beamish.
Okay.
It was like it was just so classic, like 90s. A lot of adult humor in it for sure, but it was a game that was clearly aimed for boys. It's like writing off of like The Simpsons, like especially like in that era when Bart Simpson being a bad boy was like the cool thing.
Right.
So it's like this kid
in the back pocket.
A point and click adventure game for kids. Although the humor was very adult. He had like this rat tail. He had like a backpack. He was in detention. You start off like getting in detention in the very first opening sequence. The music slaps though, Ray. You actually should listen to the music. He had like a little. He had a toad called Horny.
Wow.
Again, there's some like mess up stuff, but I loved that game.
The game that I finally played that was like, holy crap! I get it. I think for me, it was definitely Mega Man 2. Like Mario was kind of just like a plumber dude, you know? But Mega Man was just like this cool dude in like a full bodysuit that shot blaster shots from his arm cannon. I was just like, dude, this is incredible.
Well, I'm glad that you started with number 2 because I remember I got Mega Man 1 for Christmas and the box art was so bad. I was like, this is terrible. This looks so bad. Who is this ugly man on the cover of this game? I don't want to play him. I don't want to be him. I remember playing the game and like Mega Man 1 was one. You had to play whatever game you got for Christmas.
Right.
I didn't know you could return games for a long time. Yep. I was like, all right, well, you're stuck with playing this game. You better get good because that's the only game you can get for a long, long time. And so I remember playing a lot of Mega Man 1, but I remember I was like, oh, this is okay. I mean, I had fun, but you're right. I think number 2 is when I was like, okay, this is super fun. The Mega Man 1 has really good music too, but number 2, all the Mega Man games, that soundtrack is like
slaps.
So good. And the levels and the bosses the art is so much better. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I came back around to one, but I don't think it was a game we had in our library. It was like, I think I played that one on an emulator as a teenager or something. Mega Man 2 was a great starting point for sure, dude. The soundtrack, the animations, the boss fights, the difficulty, that game molded me so much. Like, I think to this point, I love a hard platforming challenge, and it stems all the way back to Mega Man 2. Like, give me the control.
That is in your DNA. You are always loving those hard, difficult platformers.
Yeah.
I love number 2. I really got into Mega Man like as soon as when 2 hit. I remember a friend of mine had it, and I used to bike over to his house, and I was like, "Why could my mom got me this game? Why did she give me number 1?"
Yeah, on the box art, he was looking more like actual Mega Man. He still had like a bit of realism, odd realism to him. Like
Yeah. I can't remember now.
Real flesh colored
it's definitely
face.
more cartoony. It's definitely more cartoony than the
he has
first
like
Mega Man one.
really big cheeks coming out of his face.
Cheekbones. It's like rosy kind of.
Rosy, yeah.
I thought Rush. I was like, they can do that in this game. You can have a dog that lets you like.
Oh
wait,
Rush was 3, right?
Rush was 3.
Was it 2?
No, you're right. Rush was 3, but you could do. Dr. Light gives you like 3 different things, right? You have the platformer that hugs the wall.
Yes.
Right. But it's like 1, 2, and 3. I don't think Rush transforms into those yet. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think Rush makes his first appearance in 2, but then you get to use him in 3. We'll be correcting ourselves in the coming episode, probably.
If we do get any comments, be like, actually, that wasn't.
Nah, it's gonna happen all the time. That's the beauty of this podcast. It's rose tinted goggles. It's just what we remember and how we remember it. Mega Man 2 boss fights, music, Wily. So cool that the thing that defeated Dr. Wily was the weapon you thought was just super duper useless throughout the entire game. Is the Bubble Man bubbles is like it's the counter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The dragon that you have to fight in Mega Man 2. Do you remember the dragon? It chases you while you're like trying to hop on platforms, and then finally you have to fight it.
Well, again, like this is like kind of where the Dire Pass level kind of like really bites you, because it takes a couple times to get the rhythm of the jump in the blocks, right? You gotta die a couple times to get that rhythm down, and it sucks when you have to give it up, right? You're giving up your momentum to hand it off to your sibling, and you're like, dude, I was having it, now I have to start all over. I have to train my brain all over again to relearn it. And you can do some bargaining at that point. We did a lot of bargaining. Okay, let me use up like a couple of my lives here.
I'm locked in, man. I'm locked in.
You can have 2 more lives later on.
Dude, and the password system in Mega Man. There was no save files yet on NES. Yeah. So some of our listeners may not even know a world like this one. If you wanted to retrace your steps or replay your progress, you'd have to enter a password on like this giant grid system with blue and red circles, and then it would kind of take you back to whatever part of the game you were at.
Yeah, I had a spiral notebook filled with just the passwords that I had to keep in mind if I wanted to restart where I was last at.
I believe it was.
Yeah,
I think that was the password menu. It might be. Maybe that might have been part 3. I'm not sure. Well,
it's like a jazzy little tune.
What is that one from? Is that from the password?
That is something.
Like I hear something start immediately after it, but I can't think of that song.
Someone comment in the section what we're thinking of.
Throw in the comments. A free T-shirt to the first person who thinks about it. And I'm jumping ahead, and I won't go too deep into this, but that feeling I had from playing Mega Man and how like excited I was to be playing as such a cool character took it to like the 20th level when Mega Man X came out on SNES. But I'll leave it there.
Here's the thing, dude. I actually had the opposite effect of that.
Wait, what?
I got to see when those games came out and where I was at in like my kind of gaming life, because there was a period where I wasn't playing any games for a while. But I remember looking at Mega Man X and I was like, this is the Mega Man I know. And I just kind of rejected it. I rejected it. And I was like, wait, who's this red guy? And what? There's swords now? Mega Man doesn't have a sword. What is this, dude? I'm out.
Don't you ever tarnish Zero's name.
Okay, that's it. Yeah,
that's my dude.
Like, give me back the little bird. I want a little bird companion.
I mean, yeah.
Now
there's an episode where we talk about graphical leaps and how excited we got at some of those big jumps. So I won't go too into detail. But man,
you're right.
Mega Man X was just like, blew my mind. Mega Man X 1 and 4. Play Mega Man X 1 and 4. To me, those are the best.
I honestly went from like playing Mega Man 1, 2, 3, and I think I stopped for a while. And I think I replayed in college. I went back and like got like the Mega Man collection for the GameCube.
I got that.
And I think I just stopped. I didn't play any of the X games. So I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm not playing any of this stuff. But then I played. What's the one where he goes into the internet?
Oh, Battle Network on Game Boy.
Battle Network.
Yeah,
And there was
yeah,
like
yeah.
a GameCube version of it. And I was like, it was super hard, very very hard. And
Yeah.
I was like, I still liked it. I was like, oh, this is a fun Mega Man game to reintroduce me to it.
That was more turn-based, right? Almost like Pokemon
No.
and Answer to Pokemon.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm sure that's what it was. But this was the one I'm talking about was a GameCube game that was a platformer. It was like brought you back to.
Oh, with Battle Network characters?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I do kind of remember that. I never.
I thought it was a pretty clever way to do it. Like you had to like, the viruses were the bosses that controlled like the fire department. You had to go and like go into their internet server and fight to fix the problem of the fire department's internet or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Again, I could be wrong too. This is a long time ago, but anyway.
I also remember a game called, I don't know if you remember or if ever heard of a game called TNC. It's a deep cut, man. It's like a really weird game with a monkey that skateboards or surfs.
Surfing, it was like a competition. There was like a tiki mask guy.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, you were
that was like an Elvis dude with sunglasses.
Yeah.
That was another game that, like, to me, when I saw it, I was just like, this guy has sunglasses and he's skateboarding. It's cool.
I mean, anything that had skateboarding and sunglasses was going to grip us. Not to be infused with Skate or Die, which was another.
Like, dude, skate or die.
Or die.
Die.
Skate or die. Die.
Do you remember that there was an adventure mode too within the cartridge? It was the half pipe thing, and like you can get the high score. But for whatever reason, I loved the adventure mode on that game. You were just some dude like skating across the mall, and like I think you could like throw things at enemies. I never beat it. I got stuck at the mall. The whole left to right story mode aspect of it, kind of Double Dragon-ish, but on a skateboard.
That was like a cousin game.
Oh, dude! Oh, I played Skate or Die in El Salvador. That's how cousin game that game is. I played at my cousin's house in another country.
Dude, I remember my cousins. I played a lot of early games with my cousins. They were renting their console. You could go to the rental store and rent an NES. And that's what they would do. We'd get on our bikes. They'd get an empty backpack. They'd go rent an NES, take it back to their house, and we'd rent like 3 games, and I'd spend the night, and we'd just stay up all night playing, trying to think of the games that they had or rented. Skate or Die was definitely one of them. TNC, what you just said. Blades of Steel. Remember that game?
Blades of Steel is hockey?
Hockey game. Yes. You could like fight Tiger Heli. That was a big one too.
Wait, that one I don't know. Tiger Heli.
It was dope. It was like you were a little helicopter, and you just like went through the level trying to survive.
Gotcha.
You could get like power-ups and like have like 2. It's like a
shmup. Mine was 1942. That's the game I had that was like that. The Capcom airplane, top down, shooting other planes as you're flying through. Yeah, that game was awesome. All right, let's talk about co-op gaming. What was the sibling experience like? We've touched a little bit on it, but what games specifically were you playing? 2 players simultaneously.
Talking about siblings, is that my brother would just always pick the worst games. Always would pick the worst games. Notoriously would pick, like, selfishly. And I'd be like, you're being selfish, man. Like, I know you like race cars. Now, my little brother, how obsessed he is with race cars. And we're talking like, I'm talking about a game that you would rent from. You could also rent computer games back then. You could rent computer games with like the 12 discs. You would load it and you were expected to give the discs back. But my dad would always copy them, right? Copy the discs so we could keep them forever. But my brother would get like the racing game, and it was always terrible. I was like, this is boring. I don't like racing games. He wouldn't know how to play it. He would give up, and then he would just want to play the game that I rented and eat up my precious time. I was like, you always pick the worst games. You never listen to me.
Dang, la-di-da, you got to rent 2 games in one go?
I mean, very, very rare occasion. Like, we usually have to go back and forth. But anyway, that was a lot of my games. I would pick the game that I knew that we would both enjoy. Again, like a Mega Man 2 or a Mega Man 3. And we would both like it. And then he would have his game. And I was like, I don't want to play this. And then he wouldn't want to play it either because he wasn't good enough to play it.
I got a good rental story if we're going there. Same thing. I had a brother who like had wildly different tastes in gaming. Racing games, sports games, basketball. I remember one day it was a birthday party and we went to go rent a game because all my cousins came over and we're like, let's go get a new game. I was like, all right, my dad was feeling good. Like, all right,
kids,
I'll take you. Let's go get a game. We went.
You felt like being a hero.
And I saw a game. It was Super Turrican. On the box, it says, like, Game Pro. Remember the Game Pro 5-star guy?
Oh, yeah.
Like, the when a game gets a perfect score, it's the dude with his hair just all the way up. And he's just like, yeah. And it was 5 super smiley faces on Game Pro. I I'm like, dude, we have to get this game. It's sick. But it was my brother's week.
Oof. I hate it.
WWF Royal Rumble. It was.
Yeah, man. Okay, see, it's a certain kind of like angst and just anger that comes from you. It's injustice when
Yeah.
it's not your cycle and you see something awesome.
The biggest injustice though was that it was a hit and all my cousins loved it and I didn't. My brother was just like, see, I told you.
Dude, that thing's even worse.
But Super Turrican, man, I need to play it. To this day, I think I rented it only once.
I gotta look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was good for its time. It didn't age as well as like a Mega Man would or something.
Wait,
But
what was the wrestling game you talked about? Was it an NES game?
yeah, SNES.
Oh, SNES. Okay, I'm thinking of like a wrestling game on NES that would like it had like a weird fish man was one of the guys. And I was like, this is the weirdest wrestling game I've ever seen.
Dang, I'm trying to think. It might be Saturday Night Slam Masters, but I don't think that game had a fish guy.
Like a Creature from the Black Lagoon type character. I want to say, man, I gotta look this up.
And it's a wrestling game?
I think it was a wrestling. I think it was an NES wrestling game.
Yeah, we'd also like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday were our gaming days, right? So we'd get to rent a game on a Friday if we're lucky. It was like this whole thing, this unspoken thing of waking up early Saturday morning, waking up earlier than the sibling Saturday morning so that you could play the game first.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember so vividly opening my eyes, sneaking over, and just already hearing. I'd be like, no!
Dude, I remember my brother and I both shared a room too. We had like the trundle bed.
Yeah.
So, and my brother's on that side. So I had to like crawl over the trundle, like get over without waking him up. And you literally had to turn the volume all the way down. The buttons were too loud. So you had to really click it to make it compress the noise.
Yeah.
And then you had to turn on your NES so quietly so they wouldn't wake up.
It was weird because like it was this unspoken rule, and like I don't think my brother ever felt like any kind of guilt when he did it, but I just remember when it was me, and he walks in just being like sorry. I guess that's just the nature of being a little bro.
I just remembered talking about co-op games. I think the first co-op game that my brother and I played was Turtles, baby. Turtles Arcade.
Ooh, dude, what a great port to an NES.
We put a lot of time playing co-op Turtles.
I felt like I was at the arcade playing that game at home, dude. Who turned out the lights when you fall into the sewer? It had a bonus stage too that wasn't in the arcades. It was like the snow stage. I think it was not a stage that was available in the arcades.
I think you're right.
Not to be confused with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the NES game with a water death trap.
So, that water level obviously notorious. Everyone hates the dam, right? You had to disarm the bombs. In the pink seaweed would electrify you, right?
Is there a way to beat that stage? Not the seaweed level. The van level. I feel like we never got beyond that van level.
I don't know a single person that beat that game.
I should look up the ending to that game just to confirm that it's possible.
Yeah.
I remember playing a lot of Contra 2 co-op. That was like a big one.
Yeah. Contra was a big one for talking about my cousin's rental.
You guys rented that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. We were proud owners of Contra for sure. That one was like heavy rotation. We beat that game like crazy. Another one that was insanely difficult that like again probably helped molded me to be like this reflex driven difficulty kind of gamer is Ninja Gaiden on NES.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that game was hard.
I didn't own that game, but I remember there was it was like featured on Nintendo Power. And this has happened to me a lot. I was like, what is this? I wish I could play this game. It looks awesome. I remember like just loving the artwork, and were you a Nintendo Power subscriber?
I was a GamePro subscriber. Every Christmas, my uncle would renew our subscription for GamePro. That was like our Christmas present every year.
That's good. Nice.
It was so clutch. And then EGM, like during my high school, college days, I think that was like a almost electronic boutique sponsored video game magazine.
I was definitely had Nintendo Power growing up. I used to save them all, and I would just like obsess over the artwork. They just had good art. I mean, I remember they would blow up kind of like the manual artwork, right? I would just draw and like try to draw. I remember like the artwork they had for Willow was like huge. I loved drawing like the weird swords. I didn't own the game, but I just loved seeing it in Star Tropics. Was another one too. I didn't ever play the game, but I remember like looking at the artwork, drawing.
What was Star Tropics?
It was kind of like a top-down, I don't know, like action game. I don't know. I never played it, so I don't
gotcha.
You're like a little kid on an island, and you're fighting, use like a yo-yo to like.
That's ringing a bell now. Yes. Okay.
Howard and Nestor was like a comic they had. They would like, I love the artwork of that. Obsessed with the artwork on that. Yeah, the art was really good. It was really funny. I think there's I definitely a couple years ago I looked up the archives. You can find it online. There's someone like did an archive of like all the Howard and Nestor comics, and they did like Mega Man. They did Deja Vu. They did Star Tropics. They did.
I want to check out the archive of that. First console setup. I want to just say that I imagine, just like everyone else, you had a television close to the floor with an NES with no chairs around. Like, I feel like the only way to play an NES was on the floor for some reason.
Yeah, it was on the floor. I wonder if I might be able to find a picture of that.
I'll bet I can find one too. You think it was a cable thing? Do you think it was because the cable on the controller didn't like reach very far? Kids just played so close to the TV, sitting on the floor or laying down.
I think honestly that, and I think that they were so new that parents didn't know how to arrange the living room to accommodate for a console. Like you just didn't know. All right, we're gonna plug it in, and here's the controllers, and I don't know, like you weren't setting up gaming chairs or accommodate for the Nintendo. Like the kids were like, "You're on your own, figure it out."
Right. It's like totally unknown territory. Imagine being a parent back then. Like, do we like unplug it when they're done and put it away?
Like, I'm sure that happens so often. I mean, also just remember, like, talking about save points and stuff, you would just have to, like, put the game on pause. You would get yelled at to go to dinner, and you were, like, right in the middle of a level. You had to put pause. You had to just pray that no one would come and, like, turn off the console or unpause the game. So you had to, like, hide the controller underneath the chair so that no one would mess with your progress.
Dude, one time we were at my cousin's house, and we finished Mario 3, and I guess he had never finished Mario 3. It was a big deal to him, and he was so stoked. He was just like, leave the NES on. When my mom gets home, I want to show her that we beat Mario 3. So we left it on. She finally got home from probably picking us up dinner or something like that. It was like a sleepover thing. And in that time, I guess maybe my grandma went up there and saw that the thing was on, and she just turned it off. Yeah. He was like, Mom, come upstairs. Grabbed her by the hand, pulled her all the way upstairs, went to the room, and Mario 3 and the television was off. He started crying hysterically.
Yeah, man. We all have a story like that. Because it happens so often.
Cuts deep, man. Cuts deep.
Yeah. People used to take pictures of the final screen and send it in, being like, look what I accomplished.
I also remember GamePro had something called envelope art. You drew on the envelope that you just then sent to GamePro.
Yeah.
I remember one time my brother drew an Earthworm Jim GamePro envelope art. He was about to send it in. In the time between him drawing it and sending it in, I forgot what I did, but I dirtied it somehow. It had dirt on it or gum or something like that, and my brother was pissed.
Dude, come on, man. Earthworm, dirt, it would be it's fine.
That's kind of where my head was at even back then. It was a picture of him stepping on, I think, cow poop or something. Do you remember the first time you went to Toys R Us, the first game you pulled one of those slips out to take home? What game was it?
Legend of Zelda. Easy.
Oh, the NES Legend of Zelda? I think the first gaming slip I remember pulling, even though I'm sure it happened prior to it, the first one I remember was a Super Nintendo game, I think.
Actually, wait. I think I got that as a birthday gift. And I think I got Legend of Zelda, The Adventures of Link, too. I think that was the one I got.
Yeah, that's a solid pull.
I can see the box art. It just had this golden, the jewel-encrusted sword.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the next game in Zelda? This is the next one? I gotta get this.
Yeah, I remember thinking how cool it was that it was side-scrolling in certain sections of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it was super hard. I remember I used to love watching my dad play. I used to just beg my dad to play. It was too hard for me to play. I mean, I definitely played it, but I was like, oh, I want to see my dad actually make some progress on this. And hey, here's my question about Zelda. Here's my little mini rant about Zelda too. Okay. I wish the future games would incorporate, because all the games in the universes, and even Mario, they all steal from, not steal, but they take the elements from the past games, and they use them and stuff. They never, I could be wrong, but I can't imagine them ever using characters in the Zelda games from Zelda 2 and other games.
I never played Zelda 2 very much to know what kind of enemies existed in it. Are they just totally offshoots from any other Zelda game?
I don't think they even borrowed some of the enemies. There was like walking on 2 feet.
Humanoid kind of knights, right?
With, mustache badgers that used to throw boomerangs. You don't see those anymore.
Yeah.
They did little beetle scurrying things. You don't see those anymore.
Weird.
There was a boss with a horse head that carried a mace. Don't see those in any of those. Why didn't they use any of that stuff? Even the music was so good. And Zelda always takes music from other games and puts them in places and uses like them. And they never use any of the music in that game. I was like, why did you guys just? And here's another one. You could turn into a fairy in those games. Link could turn himself into a fairy and float through.
I missed that game entirely. All right, here's my crazy prediction then. I think the next Zelda game will incorporate some of that stuff.
I hope they do. Because I would love to see more Zelda 2 fan art. I want to see Link as a fairy. I want to see this weird stuff that happens. I want to see that guy with the horse head and the mace. I want to see these weird bosses.
Yeah, I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
Switch 2.
That was my game I pulled from Toys R Us. That was right. That was huge. We used to beg to go to Toys R Us, run to the game section, a huge wall of the slips you had to take up to the front counter to get your game.
I had a picture of the game too. It had the box, and then you could flip it over. You could flip it up and like look at the back of the box.
These kids, I feel bad. These kids just don't get to experience this kind of joy and pleasure, right?
It was one of the best parts of being a kid, like a gamer kid, going to Toys R Us and looking at those papers. And like the joy, the pride of having one, walking over to the cash register.
I remember just picking game, and sometimes you just didn't know. I remember I used to get them if I got a perfect report card. I would go. That was my tree. I would go to Toys R Us. My dad would take me to Toys R Us and go pick a game. I remember one year I was like super into Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I like wanted the video game. My dad's like, I don't think you're gonna like this game. I was like, I'm so determined. And sure enough, he was right. That game's so hard. No, it's not meant for kids. So hard for NES.
Yeah, I never played that one. But speaking of rabbits, I definitely remember really liking the Tiny Toons game on NES. That was a big one for us.
Oh yeah, that was a good game.
That was Buster, and you can switch to Dizzy or the cat. They each had different abilities.
And I want to say that was like, again, I'm sure this may not even be right, but I think that was kind of the last generation of NES games before Super Nintendo.
And it shows too. It looked really good for being an NES game. Yeah. You play as Buster, Plucky, who has like a little float thing. He can like flutter his wings and stay in the air longer, and the cat, who can grab onto walls and climb slowly.
There's a cat in Tiny Toons?
It's a little blue cat, Elmira. Remember Elmira? She always gave him a hard time.
Okay, she like squeezed the cat.
Yeah. Yes. It was the poor cat that would get loved to death. Yeah, that game was incredible.
All those NES games with the graphics were so good, like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, DuckTales.
Dude, Chip 'n Dale was so good.
Those those graphics were unbeatable.
You can put it on today and it's still like pretty good.
It still looks good,
especially in 8 bits. They were pushing that thing to the max. Everybody on the podcast, we got our boy Tito here. I just heard this about someone else, but Tito can be dangerously chill.
And dangerously cheesy.
Absolutely. So something we like to do that we're hoping to do on this podcast is, of course, reminisce over our own personal gaming memories. But we recognize that everyone has their own stories, and we want to bring people into the fold to share their stories, be it friends, be it colleagues, be it listeners themselves. So Tito, welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing? First of all,
doing well. You got a solid 5 for me, and then I check out.
Ray, you're talking too much, man. I gotta go in 2 minutes. I've been gaming with Tito pretty strongly, I'd say, since the beginning of the pandemic. That's when like things really took off in our gaming world. I've known this dude since Stu was a kid.
2003, 2002.
Yeah, something like that. This guy was my drummer's little brother. So he'd just be watching us jam, bringing us popsicles after practice.
What were you guys playing in the pandemic? What's the game that brought you guys together?
We jumped on Apex Legends. It was a glorious time.
I mean, we were already on Apex, but I think the pandemic really like strengthened our bonds.
I remember day one of Apex coming out.
We hopped
first
on.
Day. We hopped on day one of Apex, and battle royales were still very new. Like our whole strategy was like, "Hey, come hide with me."
Don't act like you guys are like above that anymore.
It's called having a strategy. It's called not running in blindly to die. I know you're not familiar with that.
That's a hot topic.
Ray's nickname for at Apex. Call him Runaway Ray.
Runaway. Hey, we've had many iterations of this Apex group. Now we're on Marvel Rivals, obviously.
We're talking. This is supposed to be nostalgia.
All right, all
Tito's
right,
just
all
gonna
right.
do.
Oh, nostalgia. My bad. Cut this
All
out.
right.
Edit all of that out.
It's so yeah, that's
Anyways.
Tito in a nutshell, guys. We've gamed together. We continue to game together. Let's jump back. The year is 1992. Talk to us, or I don't know what year it is, but talk to us about your earliest gaming memory.
Very first, we had a Nintendo. I don't have any like real memories of the Nintendo. It was like in a box, right?
We were just talking about that. I was telling Brad when consoles just came out, parents didn't know like what the setup was. Did we put it away when the kids are done using it?
Right. There was no like gaming area. It was just like you took up the living room space, and then your mom was like, "All right, get the fuck out. All right, let me disconnect everything." you know, screw. And then like, and like what TV is what setting? Like, oh no, this one's 0, 0. No, go to 3 for this one. And you had to change it on the thing because like it was never really in a room because
Yeah, gaming was channel 3 for so long. That was
channel
like
3 for a hot minute, but then weird ones were like, oh, it's 0 or 1, like some TV.
sometimes it was 4
Yeah.
on my TV, and I don't know why.
It's interesting. All three Nintendo loyalists. No one grew up had Sega.
No, my neighbor had
No?
Sega, and Sega was weird.
Yeah,
Everyone knows the
They are
weird kids had Sega.
yeah, I agree.
Honestly, yeah.
I would go
If
over
you-
there and like play it and be like, this is wrong.
I was such a hater of a controller. I'd be like, this
Yeah,
ain't
those
right, dude.
huge, but yeah,
Ain't right.
nah.
3 buttons, A, B, C,
And then like,
no top buttons, no shoulder buttons.
Mm.
It was whack, dude.
so yeah, SNES is probably the first console I really. Oh yeah, like that's just what we playing. Street Fighter was probably and then
Okay.
Super Mario World, obviously. Whatever game came with the console is what we played for maybe a year. like
Yeah.
no new games were being introduced at all. Like we're renting it from Max Video in El Monte for like, and it's that it's not even like you don't even get the booklet or anything. It's just like the cartridge, the clear box. So you get none of the art, none of the like any. It's just like here's the game in a plastic box.
They would sometimes have the instructions on a weird sticker.
Yeah.
Ah.
And then by the time you got to it, it was all like faded out, and you can barely read it. Yeah.
Was it customary for you guys to like delete your save file before returning it, or would you let it rock?
Absolutely not. No, I would never did any of that.
Now, okay, on that same note, did you ever say YOLO and use someone else's save file because you didn't want to
Go start from the beginning.
do the hard stuff? Yeah.
For sure. I for sure did that at some point. For sure. Yeah. 1000%. I was like, why am I gonna, or like, you know what I probably did? Maybe some PS1 game I did this with, where it's like, I was like, let me start it, see how hard it is, and then I'd quit, and be like, nah, fuck it, let me.
Yeah.
And then go, I'd be like, oh look, I have the flamethrower, hell yeah.
No, for me, it was like I just want to see. Why is he wearing purple armor? Like what the hell?
Right. I remember going
Sometimes,
going to Cheat Code Central and just like
Wait, what is that? A website?
an old school website, cheatcodecentral.com. It was like this is web 1.0, like 97, 98 maybe, and it's like,
Okay, so this is like
how to-
PlayStation, PS1.
Yeah. This game after that was Donkey Kong, and that was the big. That was like, oh whoa, the big game we got like at release, and that's literally the only other game we got at release. Like, no, like.
Are we talking country or 64?
Donkey Kong Country.
Okay, gotcha.
It was in 3D, and then we played it. We passed it. We're not over it, right? Because games so rarely came into our household and stayed there. So we were like, obviously, everyone wanted to do their, you could do like co-op. It was like give you all like me, and my brother could play. He's, like it gave you so many options, so you can replay it as a co-op, as like, oh, me versus you, and you can play it where you're two different teams. So me and my brother versus each other, and like see who beats it first. Or you can be on the same team, and one of you is Diddy, one of you is Donkey Kong. So then you became like you became a character too. So, anyways,
yeah.
And then my brother takes it to school. My brother takes it for no reason. He just went to show it off.
There's no Super Nintendo at school. Like
he takes
What?
He takes the cart. He takes it. He's maybe 7th grade, 8th grade, maybe. He takes it to school for no apparent reason other than he just.
Before you continue, Tito, was this Tim?
No, it was Josh.
John, what?
My oldest,
yeah, that's
the
a shock, dude.
the responsible one, the oldest brother. Right, that's something I would pull. As like the first grader. Second, for some reason, takes it to school, and guess what?
It gets jacked.
I never see that game again.
I mean, if I saw a kid with a classic game like Donkey Kong Country, I might be so inclined to
just
like,
hanging out of his like the small pocket in his backpack. It was like the perfect size for a cartridge, and it's in there. Not the big pocket, the small pocket. Yeah, something like.
What?
To this day, we don't know the full story. He like refuses to. He just like, I lost it. Like that. Like that was the story. He's like, I lost it. We're like,
Hey, did you guys take good care of the little film protector at the bottom of the?
Oh yeah, you had to. Come on, you gotta
Yeah.
stay organized. Other than Donkey Kong Country and it getting stolen, and then we had Super Mario, and then like we'd rent games here and there, but we never had like a huge collection of games. I couldn't even save up money for it. It was just like
You have 1,000 brothers, man. Of course, he doesn't get any
oh
games.
yeah, and it's
And
in my
one of them is liable.
to lose it, like the $60, the actual $60 one, yeah.
That's an ass whooping.
Yeah.
That would have been an ass whooping in my house.
Hey, talk to us a little bit about your biblical gaming experiences.
Oh yeah. So like getting games was like we all saved money, or it's like a big deal, or like Christmas, maybe Christmas you'll get one game for the whole, like the four of us. So like, what game are you gonna get for? It's like, whose opinion are you gonna be listening to? So my dad goes to the store, and he's like, I got you guys a game, and we're like, what? My dad, super religious. We weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons for a while, on 2 separate occasions. So like pop culture stuff, he was just like, no, like none of that stuff. So it's for him to buy us a video game, we were like freaking out, like no way. He's like, yeah, I got, I got it at the Bible store, and I was like, oh no. he got a pan de vida in La Puente.
Bread of life.
Bread of life, pan de vida, the Bible store. We're like, what game do they have? The Bible. For the NES, the Bible. Yeah.
Bible stories.
Bible stories. There's also just one that's called Bible, though. Was there a couple? Again,
like
that
Moses,
was in the box.
right?
By the time it gets to me, that was in the box. The Bible game and the NES was put away and never played with, I'm assuming. Because I never played.
Was it like a platformer, or like what?
Yeah, it was like a
fighting
crappy
game?
It was a crappy platformer. Yeah. It was like, let's just make Mario Moses, and then that's a game.
Yeah, I think that I remember playing a Bible game, and you like had to collect. You were like Noah, and you had to collect like the animals.
Right.
It's like when Bart got like the golfing game.
Yes. Oh my God. No, when we saw that on The Simpsons, we were like,
you've never related to something more.
That was.
Would you like to play a game? You picked no.
You picked Driver.
Yeah.
I feel that same thing Joshua did, but I would always only take the instruction manual for the new game.
Yeah,
that I got to
that was
school.
A big one. Yeah, that was
like that's something I would always do, like Mario 64, Zelda,
or like
proof. I don't know. Yeah, like I guess.
And we're like, what? You got it? What? And then like you make a circle and just like flip through it, like looking at like just like the character models and descriptions, like nothing else. No, and then a lot of my early, so like obviously like games weren't coming into our house very often. The only time my mom let us rent games was if one of us was sick, and if you were sick, you stayed home. You had one rental. You had one day rental from Max Video. That was the rule.
That's like a weird circumstance.
So we were like,
it's not a reward. It's like a pity gift.
You're not gonna like stay home tomorrow and play it, but basically my mom was like,
one day rental. It guarantees that.
And now looking back, my mom was just like, I don't want to deal with you. Sit in front of the TV. Here's a new game.
Yeah.
And you're gonna play that for 8 hours, and I'm gonna give you lunch, and maybe you'll take a nap or something. I mean, at the time I was like, I can't believe she's letting us get away with this. This is crazy. I was like, wow, she's so cool. Back in the day, the rental spots had like, you had the 1 day rentals, which were like the exclusive, like, top tier games, and then you had later on they became 2 or 3 or 4 or 7 day ones. We're like, oh, right. So for us to get the 1 day, that was a big deal, because we wouldn't normally get those games because we always wanted to play over the weekend or something. So we had like the multiple days, whatever. But those games weren't the best games. You get like WWE, not WWF, but like the newest game, not like Royal Rumble, which we already had. With like
we talked a little about Royal Rumble
with
earlier.
like the newer graphics. You're like, oh, this game's insane. Or like that Ninja Turtles fighting game. What was it called? Alternate Dimension or something?
The one on Super Nintendo? I think it was just called Tournament Fighters. Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters.
Yeah. That was one of those games where like we only had it for a day. We're like, oh, this game's so tight. And then, so a lot of those games came in and out only when we were sick.
And you couldn't even fully enjoy it because you're like,
yeah, and you're like, and you want to play as much as possible because you want to get, your time is limited. Yeah, you're like, I can't nap. I have to play this game. Yeah, man.
It says you're 103. Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want a nap?
Oh.
I'm fine. Talk to us about the PS1 era.
We got the PS1. We're like one of the first people we knew to have a PS1. We got it around release, which was fall. Was that fall 1996?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I can't believe your dad played this devil game, this devil console.
Which
That's crazy.
it was, we all had an agreement. Like we're like, if we get, we're like the four of us were like, we'll get good grades this year. Or this, I don't know. We made some like pact with him, and he like, if we did certain things, he was gonna get us all the PS1. And like it happened, and we're like, oh my god, we can't believe this is happening. Let's go to Best Buy West Covina. So we go to the Best Buy West Covina.
Let's go. Pan de vida.
First Pan de Vida. Gotta go to the
any game you want from here.
Yeah,
any
yeah,
game
yeah.
you want.
So you all went to get it together?
Right. So the full car, you know, my dad and my three brothers, so four of us, and my dad. So the full car goes, and we park, and my dad's like, only one of you can go inside with me.
Dude, even that's biblical.
he was like,
the oldest Abraham.
It sounds like a story from one of the books.
He's like, only one of. Oh, he was like, I'm only taking one of you guys in there. I don't, because again, now looking back, he didn't want to deal with four kids just like running around being idiots like in a Best Buy.
Yeah.
He just wanted to go in and out, and I'm like, that's classically my dad. Like, so I did not go. Obviously, I'm the youngest. I'm like, they're not gonna trust my opinion because it was get the console, which came with a little demo game, and then get your first game. And like, you know, at launch, you're like, what are you gonna get? One of the first games to be out for PS1. So now it's me and Tim are waiting in the car, and then Esteban, my second oldest brother, goes. Now, Esteban isn't exactly the biggest gamer. Like, arguably,
of all brothers,
the four
he
of us,
is the one that is not.
Does not play any game. Yeah. To this day, and he never was a huge gamer. Like Josh, my oldest brother, was, and then me and Tim were also kind of equally. But he's the oldest in the car because I don't think Josh was there. So he goes in with my dad, and we're waiting.
Alas, the eldest of brothers.
If the first eldest is not available, please. So he goes in, and we're waiting forever, dude. It feels like eternity, and it feels like hours have passed by. They finally come out. They got the PS1. We're like, all right, we'll get. And back in the day, for the first PS1 game, it came like it looked like a book. It wasn't like the CD Jewel thing. It was like more elongated.
I remember. Yes,
the first ones,
I
yeah.
remember.
Bring it up. Show a picture. This is a time where they like you bring up a picture of it next to my face.
Yeah.
So he gets Too Extreme as our first PS1 game. And he gets Raiden 2. Raiden, which is like the shooter,
space shooter?
Yeah. The space shooter for like military.
Yeah.
That's a like a Nintendo game, basically. Like the graphics on that.
It could have been on SNES.
I believe it actually also was on SNES.
Yeah.
So like the graphics were like, oh my god, we're getting it for the new graphics. But he got Too Extreme, which was obviously X Games was hot.
Like Road Rash,
skateboarding. Yeah, it was like you could skateboard, you could bike, you could roller skate, and you can luge. Remember luge?
I remember.
Street luging in the 90s. Was there anything hotter than street luging? Remember that? Such a 90s game. What a 90s game where you're like, yeah, I can luge in this game. Hell yeah, luge.
Pavement bobsledding, right? Basically.
Yes. Pavement, yeah, hill on downhill, whatever. So
you could press the shoulder buttons to like swing. Yeah, is that the same game?
Yeah, you're basically, it's like a race or like different competitions, and you're like, it's like this third person, but the guy's in front of you, and like, yeah, you just go left and right, avoid things, and like get into fights with people next to you. And it was like, oh, this game is sick. And I can't even think of the third game we got because those are the first two games we had for such a long time. Played the demo disc more than anything else. Remember the demo disc? You get like 5, maybe 10 minutes of like 30 games. You just like play the first level of something.
And you guys got it early? Like you guys got it PS1 early in its release?
Yeah, we got it that fall because it was like
that's still impressive for a demo disc to have that many games on launch.
Oh yeah,
around launch.
It had tons. If I really wanted to play a game, I would go over to my friend's house because they my friends would always have like the newest games, the latest whatever. And that was
I remember you'd borrow. I remember Tim would borrow games from your neighbor a lot, Chris.
Oh yeah. My neighbor Chris, the Sega guy, he had every console. He had every game. He had like every Nintendo game. Like I went down a rabbit hole one.
Wait, hold on. I lost you. Did you lose him too, or is it just me?
Yeah, he got out.
You went down the rabbit hole and what?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's still out.
Right, you're still out, Tito. Tito.
That's so weird. Well, that's about all the time we have.
Tito. No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
That must be the same headset you use for Marvel Rivals. Well, folks, it's nice that we even got it for as long as we did, considering. Tito, wave goodbye to the people. You can catch Tito on Marvel Rivals, Apex Legends, and wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, man. I'll see you later, Tito. That concludes this week's episode, our inaugural, very first episode. We hope you enjoyed reminiscing with us. Gonna hum a few bars, and our listeners are gonna have to guess what song this is. I'll keep it easy for the first one. Here we go. Bum 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 bum. All right, the song I'm giving you. Oh. All right, that's enough. All right, so if you can name the song from what game and specifically what level as well, then throw it in the comments. This will go on socials, and we'll get merch going eventually, hopefully, and maybe you'll one day win a nice hat or a t-shirt or a signed poster.
Hey everybody, it's Ray here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning into the Dire Pass Level Podcast. If you want to hang out and join us for the next episode, make sure to like and subscribe. That way you're notified when our next episode releases. If you really, really, really liked it, you'd do us a solid if you left us a review. Reviews are a great way to spread the word about our podcast, and the more gamers to share these stories with, the better. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a good one. There we go.